Mexico City, June 21st, 1970. The Aztec Stadium. The air is thin, hanging heavy with heat and humidity. Over 100,000 people are screaming, creating a wall of sound that vibrates in the chest of every player on the pitch. It is the final minutes of the World Cup final. Brazil leads Italy 3-1. The game is effectively won. The trophy is coming home. But football, at its highest level, is not just about winning. It is about how you win. The ball comes to Pele. He is standing just outside the penalty box, in the center of the pitch. He stops the ball dead with a soft touch. He waits. Time seems to freeze. The Italian defenders are exhausted, their chests heaving, terrified to lunge at him. He does not shoot. He does not dribble. He simply rolls the ball with perfect weight into a patch of empty grass on his right. To the naked eye, he is passing to nobody. But then, a blur of yellow arrives. Carlos Alberto, the captain, sprinting from defense, meets the ball without breaking stride. He smashes it into the corner of the net. It is arguably the greatest team goal in history. And the architect was the man standing still in the center. That moment, that calm, unselfish pass, is the final brushstroke of a masterpiece. It is the image most of us hold when we hear the name Pele. The king, on top of the world, making the complex look simple. But to truly understand the weight of that pass and the smile that followed it, we have to rewind. We have to go back to a time before the cameras, before the color TV, and before the crown. We have to go back to a boy, a radio, and a promise that seemed impossible to keep. The story begins in Tres Corações, a small town in the state of Minas Gerais, Brazil. The year is 1940. He was born Edson Arantes do Nascimento. He was named after the American inventor Thomas Edison because electricity had just arrived in his town. His family wanted him to be a light, a spark of modernity. But on his birth certificate, the clerk made a mistake and dropped the I, Edson. His family was poor, not just tight budget, poor, but genuine grinding poverty. His father, João Ramos do Nascimento, known as Dondinho, was a footballer. He was a talented centre forward, a goal scorer who was known for his ability to head the ball. But in the 1940s in Brazil, being a footballer did not mean wealth. It meant uncertainty. Dondinho's career was cut short by a knee injury, a tragedy that haunted the family. The father's dream was broken, leaving them with very little. Young Edson grew up in Bauru, within the state of Sao Paulo. The streets were dirt. Shoes were a luxury he often did not have. His first contact with football wasn't with a leather ball. He couldn't afford one. Instead, he played with a grapefruit. Or, more often, a sock stuffed with old newspapers and rags, tied tight with string. They played pelada, barefoot street football. This is where the legend was forged. When you play barefoot on uneven dirt with a rag ball, you cannot rely on perfect bounces. You have to be quick. You have to be tough. You learn to protect your toes, to use the outside of your foot, to manipulate the ball with a sensitivity that boots often mask. To help his family, young Edson worked as a shoe shiner at the local train station. He would kneel in the dust, polishing the boots of wealthier men, dreaming of the day he could buy his own. But the defining moment of his childhood, the moment that truly set his path, happened off the pitch. It was July 16, 1950. The World Cup final. Brazil versus Uruguay at the Maracanã. Brazil only needed a draw to win their first World Cup on home soil. The entire country was in a state of premature celebration. 9-year-old Edson was playing outside when he heard silence fall over the house. He went inside and found his father, Dondinho, crying in front of the radio. Brazil had lost 2-1, the famous Maracanazo. Seeing his father, his hero, the strong man of the house, broken by a football match was shocking. In an attempt to comfort him, the 9-year-old boy put his hand on his father's arm and said, "Don't cry, Papa. I'll win the World Cup for you." It was a naive thing to say, a child's impossible promise. But unlike most childhood promises, this one was not forgotten. It became the fuel for everything that followed. As he grew older, he picked up another name he didn't want: Pelé. It started as a classroom joke after he mispronounced the name of a goalkeeper his father admired, Pele, and the other boys twisted it into Pelé to tease him. As he grew, the nickname stuck: Pelé. He actually hated it at first. He thought it sounded like baby talk. He wanted to be called Edson. He even got into fights at school over it, but the more he fought it, the more it stuck. Eventually, he accepted it. His talent was undeniable. He dominated the local leagues in Bauru. He was faster than the adults, smarter than the teenagers, and had a natural balance that made him impossible to knock down. He was discovered by a former Brazilian international player named Waldemar de Brito. Waldemar was the first important person in Pelé's professional life. He saw something in the skinny 15-year-old that nobody else quite understood. Waldemar took Pelé to the coast, to the city of Santos, to trial for Santos FC. When they arrived, Waldemar told the skeptical directors of the club a sentence that has become legendary folklore. He pointed at the small, shy boy and said, "This kid will be the best football player in the world." The directors laughed, but they signed him. Pelé's entry into professional football was not a struggle, it was an explosion. He made his debut for the Santos senior team on September 7, 1956. He was 15 years old. He came off the bench and scored. It wasn't a tap-in. He received a ball, nutmegged the defender, passing the ball through his legs, and fired it home. At 15, most boys are worrying about school exams. Pelé was humiliating professional defenders. The following year, 1957, became his true breakthrough. He became a starter for Santos. He scored goal after goal. He was playing against men twice his age and size, and he was dancing around them. The style of Brazilian football was changing. It was becoming o jogo bonito, the beautiful game. It relied on improvisation, rhythm, and individual brilliance. Pelé was the perfect avatar for this new style. He was called up to the Brazilian national team just 10 months after his professional debut. Think about that speed. From street football in Bauru to wearing the yellow shirt of Brazil in less than 2 years. But the real test was looming. The 1958 World Cup in Sweden was approaching. Brazil was still traumatized by the loss in 1950. They needed a savior. But nobody expected the savior to be a 17-year-old boy with a knee injury. The 1958 World Cup is where the black and white footage of Pelé becomes almost mythological. But it almost didn't happen. Before the tournament, Pelé had been injured in a warm-up match. His knee was swollen. The team psychologist, Dr. João Carvalhais, actually advised against taking Pelé to Sweden. His report stated that Pelé was obviously infantile and lacked the necessary fighting spirit to handle the pressure of a World Cup. The coach, Vicente Feola, listened to the report, then he looked at the boy, and he decided to ignore the science. He trusted his gut. Pelé missed the first 2 group games. He watched from the sidelines, nursing his knee, terrified he would miss his chance to fulfill the promise to his father. He finally played in the 3rd match against the USSR. He was lively, but didn't score. Then came the quarter-final against Wales. The Welsh defence was tough, physical and organised. The game was stuck at 0-0. It was tense. In the 66th minute, the ball came to Pelé in the box. With his back to the goal, he controlled the ball with his chest, flicked it over the defender's foot, spun around and volleyed it into the bottom corner. It was his first World Cup goal. He was 17 years and 239 days old, the youngest scorer in World Cup history. That goal broke the dam. In the semi-final against France, the floodgates opened. Brazil won 5-2. Pelé scored a hat-trick, 3 goals in a World Cup semi-final. As a teenager, the world stopped to watch. Who was this kid? Then, the final against the hosts, Sweden. The Swedish king was in the stands. The crowd was hostile. Brazil went down 1-0 early. The ghosts of 1950 began to whisper. But this team was different. They had Didi, the calm general in midfield. They had Garrincha, the dribbling genius on the wing, and they had the boy, Brazil, equalized. Then they took the lead. Then Pelé produced one of the most iconic moments in sport. A high ball came into the box. Pelé controlled it on his chest. A massive Swedish defender rushed at him. Without letting the ball touch the ground, Pelé hooked it over the defender's head. A move called a sombrero ran around him and volleyed it home before it hit the grass. It was pure street football. It was the Bauru sock ball, played on the biggest stage on earth. Brazil won 5-2. At the final whistle, the 17-year-old collapsed. The adrenaline vanished, replaced by overwhelming emotion. He wept uncontrollably on the shoulder of the goalkeeper Gilmar. They had to carry him off the field. He had done it. 8 years after watching his father cry, he returned home with a trophy. The promise was kept. The king had arrived. Following 1958, Pelé was no longer just a player. He was a national treasure, literally. European clubs, Real Madrid, Juventus, Manchester United, were desperate to sign him. They offered fortunes. The owners of Inter Milan even managed to get a contract signed, but the Santos president tore it up after a revolt from the fans. To prevent him from leaving, the Brazilian government eventually declared Pelé an official national treasure, making it legally difficult for him to be transferred abroad. So he stayed at Santos. These years, from 1959 to 1969, were his athletic prime. If you look at the statistics, they look like typos. In 1958, he scored 66 goals. In 1959, he scored 101 goals. In 1961, he scored 110 goals. But forget the numbers for a moment. Let's talk about the style. People often think of Pelé as a striker, a number 9, but he wasn't. He was a Ponta de Lança, the tip of the spear. He played deeper, like a modern number 10, but with the finishing of a striker. He had a unique physical combination. He was not tall, about 5 feet 8 in, but he could jump higher than defenders who were 6 feet tall. His heading ability was scientifically baffled. He could hang in the air for what felt like seconds. He was incredibly fast, running 100 meters in 11 seconds. And he was ambidextrous. He could shoot with the left foot as powerfully as the right. But his greatest weapon was his brain. He seemed to have a peripheral vision that extended 360 degrees. He knew where every player was. He invented moves that we see today. The dummy, letting the ball run through his legs to confuse a defender. The no-look pass. During these years, Santos became the Harlem Globetrotters of football, but competitive. They toured the world, playing exhibition matches against the best teams in Europe, often beating them easily. In 1962, Santos played Benfica in the Intercontinental Cup. Benfica had Eusebio, the Black Panther. It was billed as Pele versus T. Eusebio. Pele destroyed them. He scored 3 goals in Lisbon. It is often considered the single greatest individual performance in club history. He was so famous that, according to a famous story, in 1969, the 2 factions in the Nigerian Civil War agreed to a 48-hour ceasefire, just so they could watch Pelé play an exhibition match in Lagos. Whether every detail of that story is historically perfect doesn't matter. What matters is that it was believable. That was the power he held. But heavy is the head that wears the crown. While his club career was soaring, his World Cup journey turned into a nightmare. This is the part of the story that is often forgotten. Between the glory of 1958 and the redemption of 1970, there was a decade of pain. Challenge 1. The 1962 World Cup injury. Brazil arrived in Chile as favourites. Pelé was 21, the best player in the world. In the second game against Czechoslovakia, he took a shot and felt a snap. His groin muscle tore. He was out of the tournament. He had to watch from the stands as his teammate, Garrincha, played the football of his life and dragged Brazil to a second title. Brazil won, and Pelé got a medal, but he felt hollow. He hadn't been there on the field. Challenge 2. The brutality of 1966. The 1966 World Cup in England was a dark chapter for football. The game had become more physical, more cynical. Referees were lenient with tackling. The strategy to stop Brazil was simple. If you can't get the ball, get Pelé. In the opening game against Bulgaria, he was fouled repeatedly, hacking at his knees. He missed the second game due to the pain. He returned for the decisive match against Portugal. It was a massacre. The Portuguese defenders kicked him mercilessly. One tackle, a double scissor challenge, buckled his knee completely. There were no substitutes in those days. Pelé had to stay on the pitch, limping, useless, essentially a spectator on the field, while Brazil lost 3-1. Brazil was eliminated in the group stages. It was a national humiliation. Pelé was broken. Not physically, but mentally. He felt the game had become too violent for art. He felt unprotected. In the locker room, amidst the silence of defeat, he made a vow to the press. "I will never play in a World Cup again." He meant it. For 2 years, he refused to play for the national team. He focused on Santos. He wanted to enjoy football again, away from the butchers who tried to end his career. The joy was gone. The boy who promised his dad the world was now a man tired of the weight of the world. Time heals, but pressure builds. By 1969, the clamour for Pelé's return was deafening. Brazil was under a military dictatorship. The government needed a victory for national morale. They needed Pelé. Meanwhile, a new obsession had gripped the nation. O millesimo. The 1,000th goal. Pelé was approaching 1,000 career goals. The entire country began counting down. November 19, 1969. Maracanã Stadium. Santos versus Vasco da Gama. Pelé was on 999 goals. The stadium was packed. Every time he touched the ball, the crowd held its breath. He was fouled in the box. Penalty. The atmosphere was suffocating. Even the opposition fans wanted him to score. The Vasco goalkeeper stood on the line, looking like a man facing a firing squad. Pelé ran up. He did his signature pause, a stutter step to freeze the keeper, and slotted it into the corner. The stadium erupted. Fans invaded the pitch. Reporters ran onto the field. The game was stopped for 20 minutes. Pelé was lifted onto shoulders crying. He dedicated the goal to the poor children of Brazil. With the milestone achieved, the focus turned to Mexico, 1970. He had been convinced to return to the national team, but it wasn't smooth. The coach, João Saldanha, was a erratic, stubborn man. He clashed with Pelé. In a moment of madness, Saldanha actually claimed Pelé was losing his eyesight and shouldn't play. He tried to drop him. The fallout was immediate. Saldanha was fired. In came Mario Zagallo, a former teammate of Pelé from 1958. Zagallo understood Pelé. He knew that you don't cage the king, you build a palace around him. Zagallo did something brave. He took the 5 best number 10s in Brazil: Gerson, Rivelino, Tostão, Jairzinho, and Pelé, and decided to play them all at the same time. Critics said it wouldn't work. They said it was too attacking, too unbalanced. Pelé was now 29. In football years back then, that was old. Critics whispered that he was past his best, that he was slow, that he was only there for the name. He heard them, and he prepared for one last dance. The 1970 World Cup was the first to be broadcast in colour, and Brazil played in Technicolor. The yellow shirts, the blue shorts, the green grass, the bright Mexican sun. It looked like a movie. This was not the fast, frantic Pelé of 1958. This was Pelé the Grand Master. He dropped deep. He orchestrated. He moved with an economy of motion. He didn't run more than anyone else. He ran better. What defines Pelé in 1970 is strangely not just the goals he scored, but the things he almost did. The moments of audacity. The halfway line against Czechoslovakia, he saw the goalkeeper off his line. From his own half, he launched a shot that sailed 60 yards. It missed the post by inches. The audacity to try it shocked the world. The save against England. He powered a header down into the corner. It was a perfect goal. But Gordon Banks, the English keeper, made the save of the century. Pelé shouted goal before realizing the ball had gone over the bar. Even in being denied, he created history. The dummy. Against Uruguay in the semi-final, a through ball came to him. The keeper rushed out. Pelé didn't touch the ball. He let it run past the keeper on the left while he ran round the right. He collected it on the other side. He missed the shot, but the move was pure genius. It was a moment of imagination that no coach could teach. He was playing a different game to everyone else. Then came the final against Italy. We returned to the beginning. The header to open the scoring. A leap of incredible athleticism. The assists. And finally, that pass to Carlos Alberto. When the final whistle blew, it wasn't just a victory, it was a coronation. Pelé was carried off the field, shirtless, wearing a sombrero, smiling a smile that seemed to encompass the whole world. He had won his third World Cup. No other player had done it. No other player has done it since. He had silenced the doubters. He had erased the pain of 62 and 66. He was the king, undisputed. Pelé retired from the Brazilian national team in 1971 and from Santos in 1974. He thought he was done, but he had one final chapter, a chapter that changed the geography of football. In 1975, he signed for the New York Cosmos. Soccer in America was a joke at the time. Nobody watched it. Baseball and American football ruled. Pelé went there on a mission to make the Americans love the game. He was 34, past his prime, but his charisma was intact. He turned the Cosmos into the hottest ticket in New York. Mick Jagger and Andy Warhol were in the stands. Giant Stadium was sold out. He played for 3 seasons. He didn't just play, he taught. He showed a new continent the joy of the ball. By the time he played his final farewell match, one half for Cosmos, one half for Santos, in the pouring rain in 1977, he had planted a seed that would grow for decades. So, what is his true legacy? It is easy to look at modern players, Messi, Ronaldo, Mbappe, and compare. Modern players are faster, fitter, playing on better grass with better boots. But you must understand this. Pelé was the first. When you see a player chip the goalkeeper, Pelé did it first. When you see a Cruyff turn, Pelé did it first. When you see a bicycle kick, Pelé perfected it. He was the prototype for the modern superstar. He was the first global black sporting icon. He traveled to Africa, Asia, and Europe, and everywhere he went, he was treated like royalty. He stopped a war, he met presidents, popes, and kings. But his legacy is more than being famous. His legacy is the feeling he gave people. He played with a smile. He didn't look like he was working. He looked like he was playing. He represented the idea that football is an art form, not just a sport, that you can win with grace. For the people of Brazil, he was proof that a black boy from a poor town, with no shoes and a sock for a ball, could conquer the world. Let us go back one last time to the Aztec Stadium in 1970. The whistle has blown. The chaos has started. Pelé is on the shoulders of his teammates. He is shirtless. He is punching the air. If you look closely at his face in that moment, you don't see arrogance. You see relief. You see joy. Edson Arantes do Nascimento passed away on December 29, 2022. The world mourned. Wembley lit up in yellow and green. Chris the Redeemer turned off his lights. But Pelé? Pelé does not die. Legends are memories, and memories live as long as we keep telling the story. The story of the boy who shined shoes. The story of the 17-year-old who wept. The story of the king who stopped the clock, rolled the ball to the right, and showed us that football, at its best, is simple. He was the benchmark. The 3-time champion. The king. Rest well, Edson. Long live Pelé.